Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at Bridge Witches A Tarot Deck Volume 3. This is the box. This deck is done by an artist called Killer Pancake, who, full disclosure, I'm actually friends with in real life. I did buy this deck. It's not, she didn't ask me for a review or anything, but I did want to put that out there that I know her. And if you have looked at my channel before or you've been here for a while, I do have the second volume of the deck, which was actually how I met her. I bought it. So I'm going to be comparing these two a little bit. These are the two boxes. You can see this one started to come apart a little bit, but that's just normal wear and tear. So the main difference between these two decks is the suit of cicadas has been updated, and I think that is the main change. So we will be comparing the cicadas to the old cicadas. So if you don't know, well, first of all, this is my first time seeing this deck. When I do these flip throughs, I really prefer to do first impressions rather than a review, just because I don't really feel like I need to review it. I feel like that's more of a personal thing. I don't really need to say whether a tarot deck works for me or not. Alright, so this is the top. So if you don't know, Bridge Witches is a tarot deck based on Pittsburgh, which is the city that I live in and the city that Killer Pancake lives in. I will leave a link to her information in the description of the video, but yeah, so that's what this is. And her suits are slightly different than standard. You have cicadas, which I had mentioned is changed. That is coins or pentacles. You have cups, which is cups. Fences, which are swords, I believe, and trees, which are wands. There's an informational card under here. Let me get it out and then I will tell you. It doesn't say on here, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So let's begin. I should probably. Alrighty, so let's begin. We have the Fool. And this is a self-portrait of the artist. We have the Magician. And comparing this to the stuff I have now, these feel a little slipperier, but that might just be because they're newer. Other than that, the card feels exactly the same. We have the Popus, which would be the Empress. Or no, it would be the High Priestess, sorry. And then we have the Empress. The Emperor. I'll let you know if any of these change, but like I said, I'm pretty sure it's just the cicadas. The Hierophant. The Lovers. This is one of my favorite cards. This was one of the reasons I wanted to buy the deck. That sort of bridge is very classically Pittsburgh, I suppose. Bless who doesn't love gay girls. We have the Chariot. Fortitude, which is strength. The Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune. Justice. Like I said before, all of these cards I've seen before. I don't particularly know anything to say about them, so if you'd like to hear my first impressions of this deck, you can check that out. But the Hanged Man. Death. Still one of my favorite cards in this deck. One of my favorite cards in general, honestly. Temperance. The Devil. It's funny the things I notice. I mean, I had been living in Pittsburgh for a few months when I bought the first deck, but now I've been here for more than a year. And there are little things like this actually does remind me of the way the like plush on the bus seats are. So I mean, you would think I would have noticed that the first time I looked at this, but I didn't, apparently. You have the Tower. The Star. This one's one of my favorites too. I love the Star in general. I think the Sun I like more than the Star, but this particular Star card, I just like the way it goes from cool colors to warm colors. You have the Moon. If I remember correctly, I covered that up the first time. I just Wasn't sure. Then we have the Sun. I do like the Sun card. We have Judgment. The World. I really like that World. All right, now this is the Ace of Cicadas, this card here that I just put back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these, the Major Arcana. I'm actually going to slide these to the side, and what we're going to do is I'm going to compare the old one versus the new one. So then we have the Ace of Cicadas. And then here's the old Ace of Cicadas. I'm going to say that the Cicadas was my favorite suit visually in the second version of the deck, so I'm excited to see how they do this. We have the Two of Cicadas, and I think this is my favorite card out of the whole deck for the second one. We have the Three of Cicadas. Real grandmas wear black and gold. And we have the Four of Cicadas. I really like that. Like that a lot, honestly. I'm a huge fan of like cross-stitch type patterns and whatnot, so. We have the Five of Cicadas. I like that, the way it's just kind of like beaming her phone up into her, or, you know, she's kind of just focusing entirely on the phone. We have the Six of Cicadas. Okay, so this one, there's a little bit of a story behind this one. The reason I got this deck early, which I don't know, I know I didn't mention, but I got this deck a little bit early, was because I sponsored the printing, meaning I paid ahead of time to help her with the printing, and one of the options was to be in the deck, but I didn't particularly care for that. But I suggested in the early 1900s, late 1800s, I believe, the librarians of Pittsburgh, part of the public library at the time, were going around to different places in the city, taking books with them, and then reading to kids out by the factories, you know, on their lunch break or whatever, and that's what this card represents. So that's really cool to get to see that. I'll put a close-up in here so you can look at it some more. But I really, really like that. That's a gorgeous card. We have the Seven of Cicadas now open. I like that. I like her nails and the orange and the yellow. Oh, and it's a puzzle piece. I didn't notice that. We have the Eight of Cicadas. I like those mushrooms. I'm a big fan of mushrooms. We have the Nine of Cicadas. It says 412 cool. 412 is the area code for Pittsburgh. It says liked by Pittsburgh Magazine and 45 others. 412 cool, catching that golden hour light. Hashtag 412 coffee. Hashtag small biz. Hashtag small biz hustle. Hashtag the grind. Hashtag can you see me. Hashtag witness me. Hashtag fitting in. Hashtag Pittsburgh coffee. And then we have this Nine of Cicadas. I really do like that. I like how she has the like the cream of the lattes look like cicadas. And we have the 10 of Cicadas. That's gorgeous and eerie. We have the 10 cicadas here. Now, I'm not sure if the court cards in the cicadas were changed or not, but I guess we will find out. Yes, they were. Okay, so we have the future is fluid AF. I like that. And here's the other page of cicadas. This card always unnerved me a bit just because of the glowing eyes and the broken fence in the background, but you kind of get that energy. I'm not sure what's on her shirt. It kind of makes me think of a slug, but my thought is it's probably a cicada. And there are strawberries in the background. I really like strawberries, so, you know. Not gonna complain about that. And we have the Knight of Cicadas. I love that card, that's gorgeous. Here's the other Knight of Cicadas. He was one of my favorites. He's just so friendly looking and like big brothery or cousin, you know? Someone you can depend on. And we have the Queen of Cicadas. And then here's the other Queen of Cicadas. I must say I do prefer that one. I like the green forestiness in her crown with the cicadas growing out of it. Or not really growing out of it, living on it, I suppose. We have the King of Cicadas. It's interesting to see how there's more like collage style work in it. So those are the cards that are different for this deck. And I think she's planning each version of the deck will have more new cards in it. That was a bus. So I'm going to put these back underneath and we can keep going through them. I will try to be a little more talkative. This is mostly just so people can get to see the deck if they want, if they're interested, or if they might want to buy the deck themselves. The Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, Three of Cups. I love all the vegetable imagery. I'm glad some of that was in the cup suit as well. This is a cicada suit, so it doesn't feel like it's all gone. Just because that was my personal favorite, although I do really, really like this new suit of cicadas, and I can't wait to try out this deck. This Four of Cups is gorgeous. Five of Cups. Six of Cups. And here we have the Seven of Cups. This card, especially this little face here, always makes me think of Undertale, like this is a character from Undertale. Doesn't look like a character from Undertale, isn't in the same style, but for some reason it still makes me think that. We have Eight of Cups. I really like the etherealness, the floatiness of the liquid. It's interesting getting to see these again, for not necessarily for the first time, but like again with fresh eyes, it almost feels like. But I do use this deck pretty regularly, so we have these cups here. We have the 10 of Cups. I want pizza and tea. It sounds like it wouldn't go very well together, but we have the Page of Cups. And this card reminds me, this person here kind of reminds me of my friend Taylor. They have the same like swooping hair, but it's just a coincidence. But that's definitely how I feel when I wake up and get my first cup of coffee. We have the Knight of Cups. The Queen of Cups. She's another one that's always creeped me out, but I feel like that's kind of, you know, what the deck strives for. A little bit of the eeriness, some uncanniness. So I'm not complaining, just slightly unsettled. We have the King of Cups. The Ace of Fences. It says the Fountain of Youth. We have the Two of Fences, and this one's really subtle, but I've always found it really like pretty and effective because the like looking at the fences in the background, it's, you know, very subtle, but it works. We have the Three of Fences, which would be the Three of Swords, just to remind you that's what this suit is. And we have the Four of Fences, the Five of Fences, the Six of Fences, the Seven of Fences, the Eight of Fences, and now fences doesn't feel like a real word anymore, the Nine of Fences. I'm sorry if you can hear the Discord chimes in the background, that's not my computer. We have the 10 of Fences. This is one I really, really enjoy. I don't know, there's something about the blue, it draws my eyes to it. And I mean, they all do, they're all very well done, but some of the cards in particular I just feel drawn to, and I think that might have to be, you know, with subconsciously with the meaning and meanings of the card as much as, you know, the card itself. We have the Page of Fences, the Knight of Fences, the Queen of Fences. They're very cute. the king of fences. So we have the ace of trees, and I apologize if I'm going through this a little bit quickly. I don't really know what to say about the cards considering I do first looks, and I've already seen most of these cards just because of it being a second edition of, or third edition of the deck of the second edition I've owned. So if you, you know, want to hear more about these minor arcana cards and the major arcana, I would recommend going to check out the second edition video, and I've probably said that way too many times in this video. Then we have the 10 of trees. This is one of the bridges. There's a lot of railroad bridges in this city that just aren't in use anymore, so they've been grown over. We have the 2 of trees, the 3 of trees. I love those colors. The 4 of trees. This is something in the city that is really interesting to me and intriguing yet really sad at the same time. There are a lot of abandoned houses that have become overgrown, and while it's gorgeous in this spooky, sad, Studio Ghibli-esque type of way almost, it's really, really sad because there's a lot of issues with homelessness and housing not being accessible and affordable to the citizens of the city. So we have these houses that sit empty while people could really use them. So this card is really arresting to me because of that, and I thought that when I first looked through this deck as well. We have the 5 of trees, the 6 of trees, breakfast of champs, the 7 of trees. This is another card I've always really liked. The 8 of trees, and as always he kind of makes me think of the Oak King. Just got that kind of vibe going on, maybe Thor a little bit. We have the 9 of trees. And then the King of trees, again with the tree type crown. The Knight of trees. This one reminds me of, I probably wouldn't have thought of this the first time I saw this deck, so I don't know if I'd heard of the game yet. It reminds me of God or the King from Katamari Damacy. It's a Japanese video game where you roll stuff up. It's the best way I can explain it. It was kind of popular for a little while, but after having seen a streamer go through and play that game, that's what this face reminds me of. And then we have the Page of trees. And finally, the Queen of trees. I've always really liked this person's face. The subtle wink. So that's that. Flip it over so we can look at the back again. So, talk about the cardstock. It's a nice thickness. It's the same as the other one. Like I said, it feels a little bit smoother, but I think that might honestly just be for me using these more, you know? So I always tend to go through and do a little quick shuffle and draw a card the first time I get a deck. And I don't shuffle it hard, I just wait, and I think that's the card that wants to be picked. So we have the 9 of cicadas with that really interesting Instagram post. So yeah, that is that. So I really hope you liked this little look through. It's been a while since I've done many YouTube videos on this channel, but I'm still keeping it somewhat active. I've been enjoying doing studio vlogs. I do them once a month, and that is simply just because with my schedule, I only have so much time to do interesting arty and authorly things. So I have a good, nice sized vlog once a month, which is a lot of fun. Yes, so I hope you all are having a good evening, morning, night, whatever it is. I hope it's a good one. Bye!